So hello to whoever may be watching. This is my United Virtual Flight Review Alpha. So my name is John Ball, and we are going to be flying a 737-700 series. Right now we are currently at Alpha 18 at Washington Dulles. I chose this gate because 19 left, the runway for departure is just right over there. And I didn't want to taxi too far away. Normally I put my aircraft at the real gates, but for the purpose of this scenario-based flight, I am going to get a little bit closer just to save time, and because I don't have that much memory on my computer. Okay, so right now we're sitting cold and dark at the gate here. Before we get everything started, I'm going to go ahead and go through a bit of a briefing. I'm just going to use the departure briefing given by the checklist by UVA. So obviously the aircraft we're flying is a 737-700 series. For the payload and fuel we're taking today, I use the flight planning tool. So this is going to be our kind of dispatch release, just without any flight plan. So I used about 2 hours of fuel. As per the standard for this flight specified in the procedures. Contingency fuel was the 45-minute IFR reserve, and then you can see here it actually added it twice, so I guess it already adds in the minimum. That's fine, we'll just keep this fuel anyway. We'll have plenty of extra fuel, and we need a pretty high payload. Good to know. Okay, so we have actually an hour and a half of extra fuel, so that's fine. So our planned fuel on board is going to be about 20,000 pounds. And we're going to use that fuel load. You can see we also have some takeoff and landing data here. So we're going to be taking off with flaps 5 per the SOPs for United Virtual, and we'll be landing with flaps 30. We'll see if these V speeds match what my FMC produces, but since this is a PMDG 737, it can actually compute a lot of these numbers. We'll try to match it pretty close. But you see we got V1, rotation speed, and V2. And then we have our minimum clean speed here, so we'll be sure to retract our flaps in gear according to the schedule provided by our FMC, and we'll make sure that we're above this speed when we have flaps up. And landing flaps 30, VREF plus 5. One of the things to note is that this is a 737-800. The data planner here does not have a 737-700, so these numbers will probably be a little bit different, but I can't imagine by that much. So we'll see what we get in the FMS, but I just wanted to try and use this and see what I can get. Okay. So weather, it's clear blue and 22, no clouds, no wind, no precipitation, no bad weather. NOTAMs, there are plenty of NOTAMs for taxiing out this airport. For now we're just going to simulate that there are no taxiway closures or anything like that, because this is a very scenario-based mission. Taxi routes, so when we taxi out, we're basically just going to go straight down. I'm going to pull up my taxi diagram here. We're going to go straight down Bravo to Juliet. We're just going to exit the ramp, take a push back to the right, take a left turn, and go to Juliet, and then Juliet 1 to line up at the beginning of runway 19 left. Runways in use again, 19 left, scenario based. Obviously, normally the runways change, but in this scenario, we're using 19 left. We discussed our takeoff flap and V speeds, takeoff profile. Alright, so we're going to rotate at our rotation speed, and we'll verify those speeds once we get everything started here. And then we're going to climb out at V2 plus 20, because it's right in between the V2 plus 10 and 25. And then we're going to reach an acceleration height of 1,000 feet AGL. Once we pass through 1,200 feet, we'll turn on autopilot and we'll start pitching for 250 knots in a climb to 6,000 feet. Then we'll retract our gear and our flaps according to schedule. And again, make sure that we're above our minimum safe clean speed. And then for the rest of the flight, what we're going to do is basically fly a unique traffic pattern. We'll use a couple different radials, and then from the Alpha Mike Lima VOR, I believe. Yeah. And then we're going to make a right turn to intercept the localizer for the ILS runway 19 left. Get that programmed in here well. ATC clearance, not required. No SID, transition altitude, we're just going up to 6,000. Departure frequency, not required. Terrain and obstacles, really no factor. Pretty standard terrain and obstacles surrounding Dulles, so we're not too worried about that today. Engine failure and procedures, so if there's an engine failure system malfunction prior to V1 speed, if it is a critical issue, then we're just going to do the full rejected takeoff procedure. Stop on the remaining runway, complete our checklist as required. If we have a system or equipment malfunction that is critical after V1, we're going to have to continue our takeoff, and then we will complete our checklist as required and return to land. Alright, I think I've covered everything there for our briefing. So I have a checklist that myself and another pilot of my friend of mine made. So we're going to be using that. It's pretty thorough, I think, so we're going to go through a before start checklist. So, exterior flight check is complete. Pre-flight is good. So the first officer normally would do that. Dispatch released. Well, we just had that dispatch release right here. We have that all good to go with some of our weights and speeds. Passengers on board. So I already opened my door and we'll start getting things going here before they board the aircraft. And we'll turn our master battery on. Ground power as required. So I'm going to go ahead and give ourselves some ground power. And an air conditioning unit just to keep the passengers comfortable. Fuel and payload, we'll go ahead and set that up real quick. So fuel, we said we're going to go off with 20,000 for the dispatch release. That'll give us center tank. It's 2,800, and then about 8,600, 700 in tanks 1 and 2 in the wings. All right, and then for our payload, so we're just going to load this to make sure we have a about a 85% payload from our max takeoff weight. So it looks like right now we're doing okay. We'll go. We'll just use an 80% payload level, and that'll put us at 131.4 out of our max takeoff weight of 153.5. So if I do some quick math here, it's an 85.6% payload, so that'll be ideal for our flight today. Alright, so we got that all configured. Go ahead and turn on our position lights. Those are kind of our beacon lights, so we're going to keep those on just to let people know that this aircraft is getting ready for departure. Alright, fuel pumps aft are going to come on. Crossfeed, we'll open that. APU, we're going to go ahead and start. We'll, since we have plenty of fuel, we're just going to keep this aircraft kind of independent from ground connections. Engine bleeds are going to be off. Turn off those as well. Packs are going to come to auto, and valves can be auto as well. So we'll wait for our APU gen to come on. We should watch our EGT here rise and then slowly come back down. And once it stabilizes, we'll have access to the bleed air from our APU and the generators provided by the APU to give us some electrical power. And then we'll disconnect our ground resources. Okay, good, we're still recording. I'm having issues with my recording software, so. Alright, EGT is stabilized. We see this light comes on, so we can use our APU generators. That'll disconnect ground power. And then we can switch on our bleed air from the APU, and we should see our duct pressure start to rise. So now we're getting some AC into the cabin. And for ground connections, we'll go ahead and disconnect ground power from there, pitot tubes, covers. Okay. We can monitor APU generator. Good. Alright. Cool. So now we'll go up to the overhead panel here. So we're just going to go ahead and put our inertial reference systems just straight to nav. They'll align automatically. Now we'll test our leading edge devices. So this just shows how where our slats, flaps are. And we'll just light them up. So that's good there. System display, left is fine. The EECs are both on. Crew oxygen, normal pressure. Passenger oxygen is normal. Test lower speed, stall warning. This one glitches out for some reason, I'm not sure why. Okay. Continuing down through the overhead panel, or the upper overhead panel. Flight controls A and B are normal. Alternate flaps off. Spoilers A and B on. VHF is normal, IRS normal, FMC normal, source auto control panel normal. Fuel temperature is fine. We'll continue on up over to the lights here, so cockpit lighting is fine, we don't need to do anything there. Equipment cooling is normal. Emergency lights will activate, and we'll turn on our seatbelt signs. Continue up here. We're going to go ahead and turn on window heat. Normally we turn this on prior to departure. We'll go ahead and turn on now. Since we have our pitot tube covers off, we're going to turn on our pro heat. Wing anti-ice and engine anti-ice are off. I know there's a ton of different procedures for when we're supposed to use that. For United Virtual, I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more, but for today's flight, since 15 degrees Celsius, standard temperature, it's not going to be a problem. We're going to turn our engine hydraulic pumps off, and we'll use the electric ones. Once we do that, we can turn on our yaw damper, and that should make all these lights go away, supplying pressure to the hydraulic system. Alright. Continuing through the checklist here. My counting temperature is fine. Recirculating fan is on. We've already set this up. Pressurization altitude is going to be set to 6,000. Airport elevation is 313 or 310. Forget exactly, so we're going to set that as our landing elevation, and the system is in auto. Lights are good. Off, and we're going to use the right ignition system today, since the last time I've flown I used the left. And I think normally in real life operations they switch off. Okay. So the overhead panel is set. We'll go through the main cockpit here. The virtual cockpit. So ATIS and weather has been obtained. No weather. Field pressure is set. We have 2992 in there. IFR clearance not applicable for this flight. FMC programmed and verified. Alright, so we're going to come over here to our FMC. And we are going to take a GPS position. Now we're going to go ahead and set our inertial reference system. Now our display should pop up. That's what we're looking for here. For our route, we're going to gonna go Dulles, Dulles. Our flight is UAL 9655 or 9655. That's me. And we're gonna go 19 left. For our route today, I'm just gonna go ahead and load in the ILS 9 left because that's really all I can do. You'll see it pop up in there. And this is basically the initial approach fix, so we're just going to fly it to there, and then we'll just follow the approach down. So for our performance numbers, let's see here. Our zero fuel weight was 127,060. So let's see, that's probably not going to be the same. Nice thing about this FMC is it loads it in. So I'll write this down because I think we need that information. So our zero fuel weight is 111.4, so 11,000 pounds. Reserves, we had about an hour and a half. So at about 8,200 pounds. So we put an 8.2. And cost index 555. I'm not sure the exact procedure for that yet. What you guys want to use is for that, but for this flight it doesn't really matter anyway. Our cruise altitude is going to be 6,000. We're not going to worry about the temperature. I'll just keep that. We're going to ignore this because we're going to do that anyway. Alright, so we are going to derate just a little bit today just because it's better for the engine. That's not one. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then climb. I think that'll be a pretty good takeoff power setting for our autopilot, so we're not going to be running our engine too fast and climbing too excessively throughout the climb. So now we're going to go to some takeoff. So laps are going to be 5 for our dispatch release. So it does give me some V speeds here. I'll take a look and compare. So V speeds are 136. Yeah, so we're a little bit short. V2 is 148, but you know, the 800 is also a much bigger aircraft. Okay, so CG is going to be 5.6, or CG is 23.9 Mach, so we're going to have to adjust our trim a bit here. We'll go ahead and do that now. So one speed I am going to note down is our V2 plus 20 speed, so that's going to be 155. So we're going to be departing and climbing out at 155 to 1,000 and then pitching for 2,500. Okay. We're not going to worry about this. There's no slope. Acceleration height is going to be 1,000 feet. So good there. There. Check our climb. Target speed, so we're going to go 250 6,000. Alright, I think I got everything set up in there. So now that our FMC is set, go to our MCP panel. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the course for the first radial we're going to intercept here. I think that is 235. And we'll put the nav frequency in a minute. Here I'm going to put the V2 plus 20 speed, so we're going to go 155. Aircraft heading is going to be 190 for runway heading, since that's the heading we're going to climb out at. Altitude obviously is going to be 6,000. And then we'll test our autopilot here. Okay. Flight directors are off. VNAV, LNAV, we're not going to engage that today for lights test. Cool. Just drop my frames real quick. Gear lever is verified down. Brake pressure. So brake pressure is right over here, and that is green. GPWS test. Test is good. Auto brake. We'll turn that to RTO. It's off now. We'll put it in RTO once we start taxiing out. And bank limiter is 30 degrees, so that's right here. Good to go. Okay, look at this. Throttle lever, or pedestal. Throttle levers are idle. Fuel switches are off. Parking brake set. Stab trim as required, normal. Fire bottle, fire fault. Okay, so test these. And we will test these. Okay. Radio nav frequencies. We don't have any radio communication today. However, we are going to be using some nav aids. So we're going to be using the Armel VOR, and that's 113.5. And then we also are going to be using the ILS 19 left, and it's 110.1. Verify that. Yep, 110.1. We'll leave the VOR in first, and program that in once we get flying a little bit more. Okay. Weather radar. Don't need to worry about that too much. You can test it though. Test pass. Transponder, we're going to set to traffic advisory, or sorry, a traffic alert resolution advisory. We'll go ahead and test that. It should yell at me in a minute here.
TCAS test pass.
We're going to leave 1200 in for VFR. No real reason to change it now. Okay, rudder trim is neutral. 8 cars is activated. And cabin preparation doors are closed, so we'll go ahead and close our door. And we'll verify that our door closes. We do not have any door open. That is good. Alright, so now we'll verify the cabin. We are ready for departure. And we're going to go ahead and back away our jetway here. Oh, it spawned me a little bit short of the appropriate markings, but that's fine. Alright, so now that our jetway is clear, we'll go ahead and give our ground services a call. Oh. Go away. Alright. So we are going to disconnect the chocks. Parking brake is set. We'll give our ground crew a call. I'm going to start engine 4. We're going to get our pushback. Just verifying some of my checklists, make sure everything's good to go. Alright, so for engine start checklist, ground services disconnected, cabin crew has been advised, push clearance, we're about to get that. Fuel pumps forward are going to come on, and we have our center pumps on as well. We do have fuel in that tank, and we'll try to burn that first.
Locking gear.
Hydraulic pumps on. We'll turn that once we get the engine started. Yaw damper is on. Packs 1 and 2 are off.
Departure check completed.
Or sorry, pack 2 is off.
Release parking brakes.
Parking brake is released.
Commencing push. All engines
Duct
clear.
pressure should
Start
rise
auto.
to about 30 psi. Engine 2 start switch will be placed on grounds. So normally I think they wait until after pushback, but we'll go ahead and start now. So we're going to switch or start switch to ground. We're going to monitor our N2 and engine instruments here. And then once we get to about 20-25% N2, we'll go ahead and introduce some fuel in our right engine. Okay. For a good start here. So far we have normal indications. Ignition stabilize N1 at about 20%. And we should start to see our oil pressure and oil temperature rise. It's pretty solid. Alright, that's looking good to me. From here we're going to place this in continuous. I know normally you only use wood precipitation, but I think I just use it for practice. Alright, so left engine we're going to go ground, and we're going to introduce some fuel. Same process. Alright, there we go.
Set parking brakes.
Brakes are set. Alright, we have a good start. This continues as well. And now we're going to get rid of our
Unlocking gear.
autopilot or APU. So we disconnected the APU generator.
Tow truck
We're going to
disconnected.
turn off
5
bleed air from our APU. We're going to introduce bleed air from both of our engines now. And now that everything is operating off of our engines, we're going to turn off our APU. And we'll verify that our EGT is dropped. It'll take a minute to do that, just to verify that the APU has turned off. Alright, so we'll look at our engine indication systems one more time here. Alright,
Left is clear.
N1 EGT fuel flow looking normal, N2 normal, fuel flow fine, oil pressure stabilized, oil temperature stabilized, oil quantity good. Not sure what that last one is. Cycle. And vibrations are normal. Hydraulic quantity and pressure is normal as well. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put our taxi light on. We're going to turn on our engine-driven hydraulic pumps. Flaps are going to be set to take off. Position 5, we'll monitor that. Here real quick, EGT for the APU is down to 0, so we have a successful shutdown of the APU. I have my checklist here to engage auto throttle now. However, I read that in the SOPs that we don't do that until we're lining up the runway, so I'll go ahead and wait for that. And last thing we'll do here is fuel quantity confirmed. So it confirms with the first officer we have about 20,000 pounds on board. And probably under half of that needed. Alright, so I have the taxi diagram out in front of me here on my iPad, but we're basically going to taxi straight up here. We're going to take a left, and then we're going to go to 19 via Juliet 1. Parking brake is released. Can't forget this. Put that in RTO. And we'll go ahead and start taxi. Sky Chef's getting in my way. And we'll just keep an eye on our ground speed here. We'll keep it nice, slow taxi. Verify his nose wheel steering is normal. Obviously, it's right there. Taxi brief complete. Wings are clear. So I do have some buttons on my my throttle quadrant and my yoke. So you're not going to see me using the mouse to use everything. It's kind of impractical. Too much work to do that. So. Here we go. A couple other aircraft around our airport here. Pretty empty at the moment. Looks like a King Air or something. I'm going to turn traffic off in a minute here because they're probably just going to cause me a bunch of problems. I'm going to get TCAS points and all sorts of stuff. So we're going to take a left turn over Amelia here. We are clear to the right. Looks like he's not even going to the runway. That works out for me. Take a right here on Juliet 1. Clear to the left. Traffic now. Turn on our landing lights, taxi light will come off. Verify flaps are set. And we'll go ahead and arm the auto throttle now. So, cabin is prepared for departure. Have been alerted. Packs we're going to leave on. We don't really need them normally. You can turn them on if you're in a shorter runway. Our flight directors should be on. Clock set. Taxi light is off. Landing lights turned on. Strobe and anti-collision lights. Turn those on. Runway is confirmed. Runway 9 left. No traffic on final. We are clear for takeoff. 19 left. thrust. All indications. Thrust set. Take off power. There is 100.
V1. V1. Rotate. V2.
Alright, so we'll pitch up to about 15, 16 degrees. Positive rate, no remaining. Gear's going to come up. And we're going to maintain about 155 until about 1,000 feet, and then we'll start accelerating. Alright, gear up, no lights. Alright, we're passing 1,000 feet here. We're going to go ahead and gauge our autopilot. We're going to put in heading mode here. And level change. So we'll start climbing up. We'll be accelerating to 250 knots. And we're going to start retracting our flaps. Turn RTO off. And we'll wait till we're above our safe, clean speed to continue our retraction of the flaps. So after takeoff checklist, gears up, flaps retract on the schedule. Packs are both still on auto. I can verify that. And we're looking good. No lights. Start switches. We're going to turn both of those to off now. Auto brakes off, as I already did. Turn off lights. Goes off. We're going to leave our landing lights on here. Alright, we'll track the flaps one more. And V2 plus 80 speed. Here, 229 for VRAF plus 80. 229, so we're passing 229. We'll track our flaps full up. Continue our climb. Auto throttle is engaged, so we should maintain V1, and we got a nice climb rate going here. Finishing my after takeoff checklist, landing lights we're going to keep on, pressure is set to 2.2, tank level, we're going to keep it 30. So once we get to 6,000, or about 1,000 feet from that altitude, we're going to turn right to a heading of 280. So we're leveling off here at 6,000. Turn to a heading of 280. We're going to intercept that green line that you see over here. That is the radial coming from the I forget the name of it. Hamel Vortex. So good. Make sure I'm still recording here. That's good. So far it hasn't crashed on me. Alright, so we're going to go 280. Basically until we cross that line, and then we're going to turn right right, heading 010. Hopefully the video and audio quality are decent. We are almost 15 DME from the VOR now, so we're looking pretty good. On for 7 minutes. Pedestal looks fine. Panel looks fine. Cool little flight. I practiced it twice before, so it's kind of cool to see how you guys designed this. It's a lot different than just a normal bat sim or online flight where you just go point A to point B, shoot my ILS approach, whatever. Alright, so here we are, we're crossing the radial right now. I'm going to go ahead and start that turn just a touch early. So we go 010 on the heading. And we are currently 19.5, so I think that's pretty standard. Now the next radial we're going to cross is 340, I believe. So we're going to go ahead and put that in now. See here on my MFD display, I have these two intersecting lines of my heading on my track, and this green line would be the radial. One thing I noticed is you said we're going to keep heading of 100 until we cross the 175 radial inbound. Well, look at my MFD here. See, this is the 340 radial, this is the 160 radial. Technically, I know what you want us to do, but the 175 radial is this radial down here, right? So we'd actually want to intercept the 355 radial inbound. But once we cross that, then we would turn 040 to intercept. But something I noticed. Alright, just to make sure I'm still recording here. Looking good. Alright, so while I got some time here, I'm going to start briefing our approach. So we're going to be doing the ILS runway 19 left to Dulles. I have the frequency 110.1 with the bed on the ground. Approach course is 019. runway landing distance is about 11,500 feet. We're going to need about 6,000 feet total to land maximum. Okay, so we're going to be getting kind of like radar vectors to the final approach course. We'll see how it turns out, but usually once I cross this radial up here, the 040 heading takes me direct to the initial approach fix of Azumi, so I might just fly GPS direct to that. It coordinates well. Then from there we're going to descend down to 3,000. When we intercept the glide slope at 3,000, we're going to start preparing for landing. We should be at about 160 knots. I believe by that point. Yeah, we're gonna try to intercept at 180 knots, and then we're gonna slow to 160 by glide slope intercept. Verify that. Yep. So we're gonna go 180, slow to 160 once we intercept the glide slope. Okay. When we do intercept the glide slope, we're going to follow that down to Domsey. We need to be at 1,700 feet by Domsey, so intersection, so we'll keep an eye on that. So we'll continue down the glide slope to our minimum to 502 and 2,400 RVR. Our missed approach point is either going to be 2.1 from the localizer, or probably about a minute and 30 seconds of travel from the final approach fix to the missed approach point. If we have to go missed, we're going to climb 800, left turn 3,000, 010, intercept the 040 radial from our LVOR and hold at Asper. There is no wind, so we don't have to worry about that. And when we land, we can vacate the runway to the right. Final approach speed is going to be, I have this, 134 with flaps 30, and we're going to add 5 knots to that, so I'm going to go ahead and write that down. So it's going to be 139. We'll just round it up. We'll go a nice even 140 for our final approach speed for VREF plus 5. Alright, so we just passed kind of northwest of the field now, so we start slowing down to 210. And since that is below our safe flap speed, or below plane speed, we're going to start introducing some flaps. We'll do flaps 1 and 2. Below 250, so we can start adding some flaps in here. Flaps 1 and 2 in there. Alright, so I'll start going through a descent checklist. Approach briefing is complete. Latest weather. Again, it's perfect weather. FMC, instruments and radios, we got that set. Localizers, the frequency is set. VREF plus 5, we established as 140. MDA/DA is set, so we'll go ahead and put in 502 for that. Alright, minimums are set. Auto brake set. We're going to use 2 setting. No need to use 3 with 11,500 feet of runway. Have people headbanging in the back of the plane. Bank limiter 30 degrees set. Landing, altitude, pressurization, we have that set in the beginning. I'll verify that. Set. Engine wing and anti-ice, good. Seatbelt sign is on. Oh, the cabin know we're ready for landing. Start switches are going to be continuous. Altimeter set, and landing lights, turn off lights on. Okay. Descent checklist is complete, and we'll do descent and final items prior to landing. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't read through all of the FOM yet, standing operating procedures. I'm not sure how you guys like to use the packs. Normally, I just leave the packs on. I know it's probably good practice to keep the packs off for takeoff and landing, but I usually leave them on. I'll look further into that. Send to 3,000 somewhere here. I think it's when we turn. 100. So 30 knots, descend to 3,000. Okay. Let's see, we are 24 TME. Yeah, we're pretty far. It's supposed to be around 20. It's okay. We'll just wait until we get across there. It's 340. Alright, so we're going to turn to a heading of 100 now. We're going to start descending down to 3,000 feet, so I'm going to use vertical speed mode for this. Because the Twitch mode tends to have really, unless I control the power, it tends to have really steep descents and climbs. I'm just going to leave it as is here. Alright, now once we cross the 175, which would also be, this radial, we want us to go 040 or 140. Intercept the final approach course. And we're going to start slowing down to 180 knots. And we'll introduce some more flaps if necessary. It's a pretty good rate of descent right there. Not using too much power. Let's cross. One more notch of flaps in there. Let's see our flaps coming down. Beautiful. So once we cross this radial right here, which is the 335 radial, I believe. 335. Then we're going to turn a heading of 040 to join our final approach course. We are at 25.8 DME. Okay, so a little further. Should have been. Alright, so now we're going to turn right to a heading of 140. Yeah, see, that puts us right over at Izumi, so I think I'm just going to fly direct to Izumi. And we'll go LNAV mode. Continue a nice gentle descent. Through a descent, final items passing through 4,000. So, cabin notification has been complete. PAX is required. We can leave them on for now. Spoilers, we're going to arm. Flaps, we're going to go flaps 30. Missed approach altitude is actually 3,000. Give us slip that in there. Approach is stabilized, autopilot disconnect. I believe it's 200 feet for the flight review alpha. So now we're slowing to 180. Got flaps 5. If I had used the level change mode and I wasn't controlling the power, it would be bad. There's probably a better way to program it in the FMC, I just don't know how to do it yet. Alright, so there we go, we're level at 3000. Go ahead and activate approach mode here. Since we're not using the VOR anymore, come down here. Switch this to the localizer frequency, and we're going to put in the course of 191. Still actually recording. Looks like we are. So glide slope intercept, we're going to extend our gear. Their flaps to so FPS at the glide slope, extend flaps. Okay, 160. Basically at the final approach fix. We'll pick it up from here. Here we go. We are joining our final approach course here. Parking brake is off, and brake pressure is good. Alright, so now we're just going to be waiting for our glide slope intercept here. And we'll slow to 160 once we see this starting to come up. The localizer is alive, so that is good. We are on the appropriate final approach course. I can actually see the airport in my runway in sight. Alright, so we've used the center tanks up. Get rid of those. Don't want to run the pumps for too long, especially when they're dry, because that can create a lot of heat. It can also create fire. Glide slope should be coming alive any minute now. FMS programming our approach here. Here comes our glide slope, so we're going to start slowing down to 160. You can see we are below 270 knots, so we can extend our gear, and that will help us slow down as well. And we'll usually do that about half a deflection above. See, our airspeed will start to drop, and we can start pitching down to follow our glide slope. Alright, so now I want to be at 140 knots, flaps 30, by my final approach fix here. So I'm going to start introducing some more flaps. And I'll just slow down ever so slightly. I have runway 19 left in sight. We're going to aim for the 1,000-foot markers, so those big white blocks on the runway. Let's continue to slow down a little bit more since we're approaching our final approach fix here of Domsey. Make sure we're going to be at 1,700 feet by that point. Oh, oops, did we do that? I know you're not supposed to cycle the gear like that, but we have 3 green, no red. Gear down verified. Accidentally pressed the wrong button there. Yeah, normally if you do that, you have to let the gear go all the way up, and then you gotta put them all the way back down. Alright, so we are above 1,700 feet by Domsey, so that is good. And we're gonna put our flaps to full. For 30 degrees. So now we are stabilized on the approach by our final approach fix. Disconnect the autopilot at about 1,000 feet. Alright, autopilot is disconnected, as well as auto throttle. It is my airplane. Follow that glide slope and localizer as well as we can. Just a little bit off. A little high on glide slope, so we'll just bring it down just a little bit more. But I feel very comfortable with this approach here. Touch of power.
50, 30, 20, 10.
Alright, touchdown. Touchdown. That's the reversers. Spoilers are up. Probably make it off by this taxiway right here. Kilo 7. Turn on the auto brakes. Just do a nice smooth taxi off the road. We're still up, we'll stow those. And start retracting our flaps. Off the runway here, turn our landing lights off, taxi light on, and APU start. Normally I'd stop and do the after landing checklist, but I'm just going to continue rolling. We're going to take a right over here, and then we're going to taxi Juliet to one of the first gates we see. Alright, flaps are fully up. Turn on ignition to both. Flaps up, strobes off. Taxi light is on, APU on. We'll monitor the EGT for that. Wing engine anti-ice off. Start timers off. Flight director off. Auto brakes off. After lighting checklist is complete. So we taxi back to the gate. Still recording. It's good news. So I won't go through the full shutdown procedure. We'll just simulate that we're going to turn the aircraft around for another flight, so I'll just set it up in that configuration. Just so we get the engines off and people deboarding, because the full shutdown takes a little bit of time. I don't think that's entirely necessary. Pretty cool. I think this is Flight Beam Dulles. Pretty nice airport. At the DCA, Ronald Reagan International Airport over there too, which is one of my favorites to go in and out of. It doesn't say on this that I have to go back to the exact gate, so I think I'm just gonna taxi back. Yeah, it just says taxi to the terminal, shut down, so that's what I'm gonna do. A little too aggressive on the throttle touch there. Go into Charlie 4 there. Let's see. Okay. Not my best parking job ever, but we can make it work. Like that gate is very close to the taxiway as well. Taxiway center line, so I'm gonna hold short just right here. I'll turn on the parking brake. Parking brake is set. Taxi light is off. APU generator 1 and 2 we're gonna turn on. Turn on our engine pack bleeds, or engine bleeds. Thrust reverser levers idle. Turn off our engines. We'll verify that the engine is shutting down. There it goes. And turn off engine 1. Ground connections is required. Ground connections. Here we go. Chalk set. Ground power. air. Ground power. Turn off the APU bleed. Turn off the APU. So electrical power source is on verified. Seatbelt sign. Everyone's favorite. Comes off. Passengers deboard. Before I do that, I've got to bring out a jetway, don't I? Oh, this should be interesting. Okay. And we can unlatch the door. Pressurization is fine. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this flight. From Washington Dulles to Washington Dulles. Any feedback or constructive criticism? Appreciate it. Thanks. If I could get this.